Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Select Board meeting. Tonight is Tuesday, August 16th, 2022. If I could ask everyone to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. All right. Any amendments to the agenda?
I do not have any.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second?
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Chair says aye. The agenda is approved. And we have no announcements tonight. So, what? Just goes a little quick. Some more. All right. So, is anyone here for public input? I can't see the screen, so does anybody? He'll let me know if anyone raises their hand.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. All right then. Moving on. The ratification of appointment of the benefits and payroll manager.
Madam Chair, through you would ask Miss Amanda Lewis to come up to the table. Hi, Amanda. Yep. And good evening. As the board is aware, our previous benefits and payroll manager, Mr. Kevin Johnston, has retired, has been working with us in the interim, and I'm pleased to bring before you this evening Miss Amanda Lewis, who may or may not be a stranger to some of you, as our candidate and appointment for our benefits and payroll manager. Amanda comes to the position with a wealth of experience and knowledge, having worked up at the Ayer Shirley Regional School District for the last 18 years and in the capacity of their benefits and payroll manager, fluent with Munis, which we use, as well as all of the major issues. And the board has her credentials in your packet, and I'm respectfully recommending the ratification of her appointment for a 3-year term effective September 12th, 2022 through June 30th of 2025 as the next benefits and payroll manager. And Ms. Lewis is here before the board to answer any questions that the board may have.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
I think looks like you're a good fit. Okay, you have some good shoes to fill. Okay,
Yes.
but I think you'll be up to the challenge. But just a quick thing: why the bother to change?
I live in town. I love this town. If I was going to go anywhere from the school department, it would be town hall.
Good answer. All right. So, Norman,
I have no questions.
I have no questions either.
okay. Is there anything that you'd like to add about yourself?
Just very excited. I mean, it's the same, but a new chapter. And it's like my second home. I grew up here with Janet Lewis.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a very comfortable and smooth transition.
Good.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Sounds excellent. That was
Make a motion to ratify the appointment of Amanda Lewis. I knew I was going to do it too. Of Amanda Lewis as the Town of Ayer's benefits and payroll administrator.
I will second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
And the chair says aye. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And we look forward to the new energy. Okay. All right, moving along. Mr. Peter Cunningham of Nashua River Rail Trail. That almost was.
Thank you.
Almost a mouthful to try to say. Have a seat.
Thank you very much. Well, my name is Peter Cunningham. I'm a member of the Groton Select Board and I'm also a member of the Friends of the National River Rail Trail. And I'm before you this evening to ask for your support in signing a letter to the governor with copies to our respective representatives imploring DCR to put the trail on its list for capital improvements and construction. It was originally put in 2001, and if any of you have been out there, you appreciate the fact that it's more than ragged around the edges. There are many surface imperfections that we actually have gone out and highlighted and marked. DCR does very little maintenance on the trail, and it's really showing its age. And the trail is a real driver for people coming to this area, certainly to businesses. I know in our town, it's certainly something that we've looked at in our destination planning with the new music center opening. And it's at a point where it needs to get rebuilt. And DCR has done this before in other areas. I recently obtained a copy of their trail assessment plan. The most recent update was 2017, 5 years ago. But it did show in that plan this trail is supposed to be rebuilt by 2022. I don't see that happening in 2022, given what they need to go through. But also, as I detailed in the letter, there was money that was set aside on an environmental bond bill by Senator Kennedy, which would actually fund the engineering and permitting necessary to construct the trail. So there's no real good excuse to not do it, other than sort of inertia, I think, within DCR. And there are federal monies available for for rail trail construction, which is how the trail was built in the first place. So similar to what happened in the beginning when the trail was built, the state had gone out, done the permitting for the trail, but then never moved to the next step to get it on the tip and get it funded, get it under construction. And we got together with the other towns, Ayer, Groton, Pepperell, and Dunstable, and it put some pressure on our representatives, and they scheduled the trail and got it on the tip and got it constructed. So it's sort of a similar effort, I think, at this point. So I have the letter. I think it's in the packet. I have clean versions here for signature if it's your, if you choose to do so. But I would like that support, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Compared to, I guess might be hard to quantify, like how ragged is it around the edges? I mean, I personally haven't been on the trail in probably a few years.
Yeah. It's shown. I mean, DCR does very little maintenance on it.
Yeah.
If there is a tree down, they may come out and take it off and clear it out. But they do very little maintenance and upkeep on it. And with the passage of time, just like roads, the thaw-freeze cycle, cracks that surface. So the areas where there are holes, there are cracks. There are areas where it's been heaved up. I know in our town we've had EMT responses to people that have, crashed because of holes in the potholes in the trail and roots that push up through it and they're thrown off balance. I don't know if that's happened here in Ayer or not. I actually believe it has. One of my riding buddies is one of your former fire chief, Bob Drazzi, and he recalls when he was chief that there were times the ambulance would have to go out and tend to somebody that had fallen. So it's reached the point now where it really needs to happen. And other areas of the state, they have done this, and we feel it's time that it gets done here. So it's more trying to get the support, I think, of the boards that the trail runs along, and try to get it on their agenda and have them do some work on it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So just for our conversation's sake, do you think too the pandemic, was other rail trails getting fixed during the pandemic, and because you said the 2022, and I'm just wondering, was there a reason, or did they just kind of slough us off?
The list that I saw, their assessment list, which is they internally need to put together a list of trails that would then go on the state capital plan to access that money that was in the environmental bond bill, and then also the other process to get on the tip. It certainly had increased usage during the pandemic,
Right.
And I think because of that, I mean, more people are certainly aware of it. There was another project. There was a section of the Cape Cod Rail Trail that they redid, and then there's a trail out in Central Mass, Northampton, between Northampton and Amherst, the Nowatic Trail, I believe the name of that one is, and that was rebuilt. So they do it periodically, sporadically, but I don't think as often as they should. One of the underlying issues, I think, has been the agency, DCR, regrettably has not had sufficient funding, and their staffing is down, and they haven't really been able to keep up with things like this, which is sort of unfortunate. And in a perfect world, I think trails and things like that belong in a separate section of MassDOT, because ultimately they're the state agency that uses that money, that federal money, to build trails and to rebuild them.
Right.
So it would kind of make more sense there, but that's another crusade. This year in the state budget, there is more funding within DCR, so hopefully they'll have more people that can be involved in the planning and permitting process, but right now it's somewhat of a dysfunctional agency. And I think, I don't want to dump on them too much. They've been neglected a lot too. I think that's part of the problem there too.
Just kind of concerned too, because this is an election year. We are going to get a new administration, no matter what. We're getting a new administration. So I'm wondering if we should then also just kind of keep our eyes on things when the new administration is put into place, and make sure that, again, that this agency does not get neglected again.
Right. No, they definitely need it. And one of the things that happened to them, there were a lot of functions of state government that were sort of thrown to them because they didn't know where else to put them. The MDC, in fact, when that was disbanded, they gave that whole responsibility for the water, the reservoirs, water districts and stuff to DCR. They weren't really equipped to handle it, and they didn't get the funding for it. So I understand what they're going through, but that's a good point, Janice. There definitely needs to be a focus on DCR, because we have incredible resources in state parks and stuff, and they're being neglected. And these are the types of things that people want to get out and enjoy, and particularly if you're for whatever, if we get locked down again because of COVID, those are resources where people are able to get out.
Well, bite your tongue on that last part.
Yeah, well, you never know. I think it's with us, just saying.
So I think this is great. I agree. I think that maybe the DCR is being neglected, and maybe we could draw attention to it. It would be also my recommendation for this board is to perhaps, like in the early spring, to kind of check on how things are going, because then the new administration will be in place, and then we can kind of make sure and maybe get together like this again and ping once again, so that it's not neglected, because if we get this agency to get more attention, the proper attention, then everyone benefits too.
Exactly.
So,
yeah, and I think it needs to be a topic during the campaign, that this is something that's important to people in the Commonwealth. So and the Commonwealth financially right now is in fairly decent shape, so we should be able to do it.
We're when you look at everybody else, we're pretty lucky
I know.
state. So
so
anyways, okay.
So if it's your pleasure, I brought actually 2 copies of the letter, and request, I guess, the chair's signature if that's what the board would like to do.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that the Ayer Select Board sign a letter of support in regards to the Nashua River Rail Trail.
Second.
You have to say it out loud.
You can't remember.
Not yet. All those in favor?
Aye.
And the chair says aye. You have to at least nod your head, but there was nothing.
Just a blank.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Through you, if we could also just, and Peter, thank you for being here, of course, and also just recognize to the Nashua River Rail Trail Association, our representatives from Ayer, Miss Marianne Stoddard and Mr. Irving Rockwood, who are here in support tonight, and their group has done an excellent job as stewards for the rail trail, doing cleanups. I know your group has also marked a lot of the trouble areas on the trail.
Correct. Yeah.
It's just chair.
Yeah. If all the select board members in the different towns were going to sign it, I'd need 2 pages at least. So I just thought it made sense to have the chair do it.
Yeah, they do. And it's been a couple of months since I've been on the rail trail. It just hasn't worked out, but it is. It's a nice walk. It's very pleasant and everything. So a lot of work does go into it.
Yeah, and I also
appreciate it.
I need to add, and I would compliment the town, your town. Your highway department has been out there from time to time mowing alongside. They're under no obligation to do so. That really is a function that DCR should be doing, but they don't do it. So we certainly appreciate that, and that helps. Definitely helps. So great.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much, and good luck with the rest of your agenda. All right, I'm off to Dunstable. Thank you.
Thanks, Peter. All right, Susan Copeland, Town Clerk election update. This item.
Should have had fancy music for my entrance.
Did you want us to play? Well, you know, the Commander-in-Chief.
Well, don't worry, I'll be back soon enough. Good evening, friends. I wanted to give an update on our election season that started for the fall. We have the state primary election coming on Tuesday, September 6th, which is the day after Labor Day. 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. at the Ayer Town Hall on the second floor. We do have in-person early voting for the state primary. Thank you, Carly. Mm-hmm. And these signs are going to be going out hopefully this week around town. So our in-person early voting for the primary will be in the second floor Great Hall. We do have the 3 precincts. And early voting is a great opportunity in the town. A lot of voters take advantage of it. So originally when we had started early voting, we were in this very room, and just moving upstairs, we have more room. So we'll be starting on Saturday, August 27th. It'll be 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. But that is also the last day for voter registration. So any voters that need to register to vote or that want to change their party affiliation, that is the last day that you're able to do it, is that Saturday, August 27th. And then we will have the early voting Monday through Friday. It'll be an 8:30 start every morning. It just gives us time to get set up with the team, and in the years past, we don't normally have anybody before 8:30, so it just gives us a little time to get set up. However, mail-in voting has been well underway since the end of July. And so that has been popular as always. I have numbers for Scott. He likes numbers. So as of today, I have a total of 655 mail-in ballots. 513 have been Democratic and 142 have been Republican. And then we do have 25 absentee ballots that have been mailed out. So the electorate is speaking, and we are moving right along, and my new assistant town clerk has jumped right in with the process, and we have some of our awesome election workers, our senior tax write-off workers helping along. So it's nice and busy and productive. And then the next, I know you had mentioned, so our next after the general election is November 8th. And I'll be posting all that information as well. But that will be mail-in voting as well as early voting as well. We'll be offering as well for that. So those are our updates. I also come here today. We had on June 22nd the Votes Act, which was signed into law by Governor Baker, which just to highlight it extended early voting, mail-in voting, etc. But importantly, there was some changes that were made, and it was the assignment of police officers at polling locations. It does require a vote of the select board or city council. Our previous practice has been we have an elected constable for the town of Ayer that is assigned by the town clerk. And in the absence of a constable, I contact the police chief, and he helps with arranging for a detailed officer because it's one or the other. So we don't have an issue with that. It's worked well. Chief Gill is always accommodating in the staff. If we have to fill in, the constables usually just automatically fill in, but unless something comes up. So I'm here today. I did include it in the packet that I do need a vote taken to approve that in the absence of a constable, I can ask the police chief to fill in with an available officer, and just to have it on the up and up, if you will. And that's my election update.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any questions?
No questions?
All right.
So, is the motion,
Motion's on that.
yep, I make a motion that the board vote to approve enough police officers in the absence of a constable at the polling location of every election, therein to preserve order and to protect the election officers and supervisors from any interference with their duties, and to aid in enforcing the laws relating to elections as required by Section 72 of Chapter 92 of the Acts of 2022.
Second.
A lot of twos. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the chair says aye. It's affirmed.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. All
Don't forget to vote.
right. Dan.
I am joined tonight by Kimberly, which you guys have not met.
I thought you looked familiar, and I was like, this woman looks familiar. But you know what? The last time I saw you, you were on the screen.
Yeah, it was a little.
That's why. I was just
I'm
looking
in
at you
person
going,
this
she
time.
obviously is someone important.
Yeah.
And the way she just happened to be sitting there, so welcome.
Yeah.
Nice
Thank
to
you.
see you in person.
My
So-
pleasure to be here. Thank
Yeah,
you.
good evening, Madam Chair and board members. Yeah, so this is Kimberly Abraham, meet her in person. So we have a few items here tonight, 5, and the first one's an update on the drought and our water supply. So we have a brief presentation. Okay, you running that, Carly?
Unless you want to.
Yeah, you can go to the next slide. So as a background, we talked about this at the last meeting for drought management. Massachusetts has a drought management plan. The last one was revised September 2019, and there's 5 levels of drought. We're currently in the 3rd, level 3 critical drought, and that's one step from the highest level, which is an emergency drought. So if you can go to the next slide. And this is the state as a whole. Almost all of the state is in critical drought. Praying for that rain. So go to the next slide. Yeah, so here's my precipitation graph. So the town of Littleton has a rain gauge and a weather station, and they send us monthly data, and you can see it here. So currently through July, we should have around 26 inches of rain, but we're at 19, so we're 7 inches short. So it's quite a difference at this time. Go to the next slide. So drought status guidance. In the drought management plan that the state has developed, a level 3 critical drought, they recommend banning all non-essential outdoor water use. We are tied for our water supply to the Water Management Act permit for those supplies, both Spec Pond and Grove Pond. And so we're not tied to that recommendation. So we do have calendar-based non-essential outdoor uses, which we've had in place, the odd even 5 to 9. And then drought conditions are incorporated into that calendar-based system. So we want to go to the next slide. So I'll get further into it, but we take into account a lot of different factors when deciding to do a non-essential outdoor water ban. So just some more background as a reminder on our water system for the board and also for people in the public. So we have 2 supplies. Can I use the mouse?
Yeah, sure.
Show. 2 water supplies. We have 3 wells at Grove Pond at our water treatment plant here just off of Barnum Road. And we have 2 wells at our Spectacle Pond water treatment plant off of Westford Road and Emco Way in this area. And those supply water to the town. What we do is the water gets stored in storage tanks. There's a Pingree tank, the Pingree Hill tank, which was just finished as part of the Phase 4 in 2017 on Pingree Hill. And we have the Washington Street storage tank up near the school. So here's a photo of the tanks. The Washington Street tank, that's been active since 1995. It's 60 feet tall, a top elevation of 445 and a bottom elevation of 385, and it stores 1.5 million gallons of water. The Pingree Hill tank, which has been active since 2017, it only has a 20-foot elevation, so it's a lot wider, and actually about half of the tank is underground, but it stores 1 million gallons of water. So we did mention the water treatment and pumping. We have our 2 water plants. At Spec Pond, we're averaging about 1.2 million gallons per day. There's 2 wells. It goes through the green sand pressure treatment for iron and manganese, and then now we have the granular activated carbon PFAS treatment online. Grove Pond is very similar. We have 3 wells. We're averaging about 0.8 million gallons per day currently. It also goes through the green sand pressure filter treatment for iron and manganese. And over there for PFAS treatment, it's different. It's the anion exchange vessels. So well levels and capacity. So as the summer's been going on with the drought, we monitor our levels and our capacity, the capacity of our wells to supply to the system. And we really haven't seen a significant decrease in the well capacity, the specific capacity of the wells, so gallons per minute per foot that you can attain from that well. And we've also spoken to Devons, who's also seen a similar observations there. Even with the considerable drought, it hasn't been a significant decrease in our capacity, our well supplies. So during the week of August 1st, as you're aware, we did have some issues with keeping up with supply. So we've been able to maintain supply throughout the summer. The water levels in the storage tanks, they fluctuated throughout the summer. When they're 55 feet in the Washington Street tank, that's our primary tank, it's full. We've fluctuated down to the low 40s and occasional dips into the high 30s, but been able to come back. That week of August 1st, we, as the board is aware, we dropped down to 33 feet in the Washington Street tank, and we didn't have any storage in the Pingree tank, which has happened before because the Pingree tank's much higher and wider. So at that time, we didn't have any signal for a rebound to occur, so we had to take immediate action to keep up with our supply. And that was the state of the water supply conservation. So we're looking into the likely causes. I think during that week we've been having the high temperatures, and we also have the drought, and there was excess water usage. Businesses maximizing production, so we're checking with our businesses and our metering of those businesses to see where they're at. And in the wintertime, we usually produce on a monthly average about 40 million gallons of water, but in the summertime we'll get up to about 55 million gallons. It's a lot more as we're in the summer that we need to produce. The plants have been running almost constantly with little rest, and so in a situation like this, we don't have much to overcome that situation. You know, if there was a mechanical failure, for example, of a pump, we might be in the same situation. High demand like we had, it was hard for us to keep up. And one thing we're looking into is there are some capacity limitations with our treatment plants, both Grove and Spec, since we've added the PFAS treatment. So there are some head losses there, and we're currently looking into those to see if we can boost how much we can supply. So current conditions, the water storage tanks rebounded from August 5th through 8th, and we were able to top off. And we're continuing to meet demand and been able to keep our tanks. We're dipping down into the high 40s, but we're able to come back up. And it seems the water ban has been helpful for that, and we've noticed a difference. We've been doing enforcement and getting water ban notifications out. It seems like people have got the word at this point. So at this time, we're recommending to maintain the current water use restrictions, and we'll continue to monitor the drought situation in concert with our water supply status, and see when we can lift that ban. We are also looking into increasing our use. What we can do is we can data log meters that are in the field to look for excessive use, to find any potential high use or wasteful use or leaks in certain areas. So we're going to do more of that at this time. I think that's all I had. And I don't know if there's anything you had. I think
you covered it
hit all the buttons. Yeah, so if there's any questions from the board, you can take them.
So Dan, so even with the water restrictions we have in place, you said that the plants are still running consistently.
Yeah, they're running near constantly still with little break. Yeah, we've been having trouble keeping up.
And I know you commented we have no room for mechanical failures there. So I guess let me articulate my question or my comments. So really what it boils down to is on the enforcement side at this point, so we can mitigate the usage on the end, so we can actually give the plants a break at some point, whether it's for maintenance or just to kind of stop the wear and tear, the constant wear and tear?
Yeah, I would say it's that, and you know, we need to have that or we were heading downhill with our tanks at that time. We were down at 33, and there was no way to stop it. So we had to, you know, put in the outdoor water ban, and we had to have the businesses, some of them, tune it down, which we don't like to obviously do. Never want to. Yeah, so right, that is one of the primary reasons. We do need to be taking good care of our plants and making sure we're able to provide reliable water. Yeah.
Second question.
Yeah.
On the monitoring of the pressure that's coming out of the well, or each of the wells, the level and capacity slide. So I know we haven't seen a dip in that capacity. In the event that we do see any kind of movement in that, like what does that necessarily tell you as kind of the professionals here? Is that like point of no return? Is that, you know, like how critical is that?
Right, so I think we would have to look at it on an individual basis. So like at Grove Pond, we have 3 wells, and we're generally running 2 of them because that's all we can push through the PFAS treatment at this time. So we can probably make modifications there operationally to allow us to continue without issue. And probably similarly at Spec Pond as well. And if they did start to significantly drop, then we might have to do, I don't know, we might have to get into further options of what we can do to help our supply, such as an emergency interconnection to, you know, reduce the strain on our wells with some, you know, using some of Devon's water or something, for example. But, yeah.
Right, so
Anything
yeah,
to
so
add?
if I may, one of the reasons we're monitoring the wells and the amount of hours that they're running and the static level in the wells versus the level of the water when we're pumping, that all gives us valuable information. And so we were watching it very closely to see if the drought and the lack of rainfall, how it was affecting. And so we were seeing some dips, but it's hard to tell at this point whether it's regular summer dipping or if it's because of the lack of rainfall. So we're just monitoring that very closely. So that's one way to make these conservation effort decisions. Another is just watching consumption. So if people are consuming, if the demand is more than we can supply, then that's another reason. And when there's a lack of rainfall, people need to use water to supplement the lack of rainfall. So that's why you see that seasonal uptick in consumption during the summertime. So those are just 2 things that we watch very closely.
Excellent, thank you. Thanks.
Thanks.
I think overall, you know, you guys are doing a pretty good job, you know, keeping us informed and whatnot. I do have a quick question. So, like, you know, you see reports once in a while on Facebook, people saying like McDonald's was running their sprinkler. So, what was Mr. McDonald's not thinking? You know,
I've been in touch with
what
McDonald's,
happens?
and so we're trying to get compliance. We're trying to get them to turn off their sprinklers. I've been in touch. I've talked with the manager. He says he's going to shut off the sprinkler. Maybe he just hasn't done it yet. He's on my list to
Okay.
call
Yes.
again.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I
because
mean,
we're-
enforcement
they-
is not the,
You can, so on behalf of a lot of the residents, you can tell them to fix their ice cream machine, stop sprinkling. I think that's what the customers would like. So. But no, my point actually, I know I kind of get funny on that, but my point is that when you do see these businesses, you are contacting these businesses to say, look, we need you to, you know, knock it off or whatever.
yeah.
Right,
Yes,
and we
are.
get the calls, and usually our guys will see it too
Right.
before, but yeah, so we get on it, yeah.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, through you, just to build on that, Dan or Kimberly, could you maybe just a little, often when we put these restrictions in place and so forth, there's also like a lot of chatter about, say, Epic or Nasoya or some of the large industrial commercial users. Could you maybe just share a little bit about how you approach that in their compliance in reducing usage?
Yeah.
Sure.
go
So
ahead.
when we were in that critical moment, we called these commercial clients and said, please, we're in a we're in a terrible bind, can you cut production? And they were willing to do that. They did cut production. But essential water use is really, we're not trying to hinder people's business. We're not trying to, hinder people's, ability to stay clean and stay hydrated. It's really just non-essential water use, things that, the grass can go dormant for a few months. Once it starts raining, the things will bounce back. So we're just asking for a little help as far as that goes.
Right. Yeah, I think that sometimes that when we send out the notice of, hey, this is what we need to do, that somehow we don't put that big enough so people will, don't understand that, yes, we are talking to them and they've already been asked and whatnot. So I think sometimes that gets a little bit lost. And I saw it in black and white, but sometimes you got to put it up top, as far as, yes, we have talked to them and whatnot, and they're cutting production and whatnot. So, okay. But thank you. It's been a lot of hard work, and, because of you, we're not critical. We haven't, had any major problems. I mean, there's a lot of towns out in this country that are really in dire straits. So, we're very, very lucky, and it's because of this, because of the work of you guys and whatnot. So, thank you.
Thanks. Yeah. Are there any more questions? Sorry. There's one final thing we have to do, almost administrative at this point, but the state of water supply conservation has to be voted on by the Board of Water Commissioners, which is the select board. So we do need a motion, a vote, that in accordance with the water rules and regulations, the board issues a state of water supply conservation retroactive to August 4th, 2022.
Did you guys get that?
So August what?
August 4th.
So you say that again, the state of
Yeah,
water
so
supply.
the state of water supply conservation is issued in accordance with the water rules and regulations, retroactive to August 4th, 2022. And I would say it includes non-essential outdoor water uses.
So moved.
Yeah, it's kind of like.
Yeah, I forgot to
Yeah,
throw
was-
that
that
one
was
in
I
just-
just read
here.
my own scribble because I keep having that.
Was it seconded?
Second.
Okay.
I'm still trying to read my own words.
All right.
I'll
Yeah.
second whatever he moved.
I thought I had it, then he added another line. I was like, oh, this is, maybe we should write that for us in the future.
Yeah, I apologize.
Yeah.
I didn't get that one in there before.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
And the chair says aye.
Okay, great.
Is that
Yeah.
for me?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Kimberly.
Thank you. Nice to see you.
All right.
I feel like for this next item, Dan, I think you need music.
This
I
is
know.
a big deal.
I was like,
This is a big deal.
I think Janice is getting excited.
Oh,
This one.
I just want to point out, I have asked for balloons for years. Never once. Never
Yeah.
once. Okay, so let's
Um,
just pretend there's balloons here, because this is a big deal.
Right, so we have made it with Mass Development, an agreement for the wastewater treatment and disposal services has been come to between the two parties, and obviously now we need execution. And so it's essentially the same agreement that we had in place, or that we submitted to them in August, at least the major component, or not August, in December of last year, the major components, reducing our required flow from 100,000 gallons a day to 50,000, and also from 800,000 gallons of capacity down to 350,000 gallons. So, which has actually been in place in the most recent amendments that we've had with them. So those were the big ticket items, but the version that's in your packet is has not been signed by Mass Development, but they've indicated they are okay with it. They are okay, and I indicated to them we were going to sign it today. So, if there's any more questions, otherwise it's up for vote to.
So is
sign the
there a
services.
reopener on this? Because I
Yeah.
know that was one of the other problems.
There is a reopener, and this agreement is for 10 years, and then at that point, it would reopen at that time.
Okay.
And so the previous one was for 20.
With no real.
With
With
no
no
reopener.
reopener. So this is 10 with the reopener. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So for those who didn't know, this has actually been a problem for the last decade, as far as this goes, trying to get this fixed. So we've been waiting for this date, so this is quite exciting that we finally got here to be able to at least get our okay on it. Just for people's information, Mr. Rivera did have a conflict for tonight, but he is still planning on coming to us, so we hope to see him at our next September meeting. All right, so any questions?
No questions.
What's the financial impact, like savings by reducing potential?
It's
Based on the flow.
right. So it's been, yeah, because we were required to send 100,000 gallons
Yeah.
per day. Now we've cut that in half. So that'll be, that's kind of our major savings is that the loading is essentially the same, so we're not going to save much there.
Yeah.
But just that minimum required flow
Okay.
will be our savings, and we'll still have capacity there for we're required to because our plant, the Ayer plant, is at capacity, and then if we have situations where we need to
Yeah.
discharge, when we have a clarifier go down like last year, it happened. So
Okay. Just curious.
Yeah.
That's my only question.
Yeah, I know that's one thing Lisa always talked about was the flow. So,
yeah.
okay. Any other questions?
No other questions?
So,
Oh, please, if you want to.
I'll move that the Air Select Boards approve the agreement for the wastewater treatment and disposal services with Mass Development as presented.
Second.
Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
And the chair says aye. Congratulations, the town of Ayer has agreed
Okay.
to
Thank
the
you, ma'am.
wastewater treatment. So
Thanks. Yeah.
try not to let them go too long without signing this.
No.
If you, I mean,
I'm
we're
going
all
over there.
willing, if you have to drive over there, we're all willing to drive over there with you.
Yeah. Okay. Actually, I've got to go there
Because this,
tomorrow.
you know,
for a
they
meeting,
really
so.
drag their feet for so long,
Right.
even getting to this part. So this is quite exciting, so,
Yeah.
all right.
Okay. On to the next item. Change order 1, Westford Road water and sewer replacement. So included in your packet is the proposed change order. It includes the addition of 1 hydrant, 1 sewer manhole, and also escalations that are allowed through Mass General Law per our bidding for fuel and liquid asphalt. So Westford Road water and sewer, the project is pretty much complete. The only thing left is to do final paving out there. If you go down that area, it's pretty rugged. So we're going to do that likely in a couple of months. We'll let the trenches settle out a bit before winter. We'll pave it so we're not cranking manholes with our plows. And so they did an excellent job, did it pretty quick, didn't have many issues. Cardillo did a great job. So this was the change order for the project, and oops, it says change order 2 on the second paragraph, but if there's any questions, you can please let me know.
What do you mean by escalation?
So escalation, so when they bid the project, they bid it in, when did we bid this project? It was early in the spring. So at that time, you have the fuel prices are what they are. Liquid asphalt is a set price. So this actually happens in our paving contract with PJ Albert. So if that price rises more than 5% above at the time of bidding, the contractor's allowed to put in an escalator cost, because now the fuel cost is impacting the project at their bid price at that time to the current state of time. So that's what the escalation is.
Any questions?
No questions. I'll make a motion to approve change order number 1 for Westford Road water sewer replacement. J.P. Cardillo and Sons in the amount of $20,090.87, including the time extension for signature by the board.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the chair says aye. It's approved.
Okay, that's actually for the chair.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
just-
on the chair.
Yeah,
Oh, it said by the board.
yeah, it didn't, I misprint. Number 4, change order 3 for Spectacle Pond Water Treatment Plant, PFAS treatment facility. So this project also, this is the final change order for Spec Pond PFAS treatment. It extends the completion date, the final completion date to September 30th of this year, because there is a little bit more work for them to do. We've had a delay on our propane tank being installed for our emergency generator. That's kind of the last item, just waiting to get installed there, and I'm actually meeting the propane contractor tomorrow. So that's for the excess time for Winston Builders to get in there and make some modifications once it's installed. But the change order is for a reduction of $18,391.80. And there's, you would see in the packet, there's several items leading to that. And it's always great when we can have a credit. So
Yeah,
if there's any questions, you can let me know. Or
I'm not used to reductions.
Was that signature by the chair or the board?
This one's by the board.
Right, so now, this one is to do what again? What, this is for the propane tank?
So this is for kind of several items bulked together for Spectacle Pond PFAS treatment. So we had to do an extension of the time. We had to relocate a computer for one of the wells, temporary connection to the generator, etc. And there's a credit for the propane tank. So the time extension is really to give the contractor contracted time to get back in and finish the project. Just the propane tank's the only thing he has left to make connections on. So
Okay. All right, any questions?
No questions? I'll make a motion to approve change order number 3 for Spectacle Pond Water Treatment Plant, PFAS Treatment Facilities, Winston Builders Corporation, Incorporated, and the reduction of $18,391.80, and include the time extension for a signature by the board.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And the chair says aye. So that reduction almost paid for the other change order. So that's nice. I think
This
it
works
kind of
out.
works that way, you know? So,
No?
all right.
all right, last item. Main Street traffic calming. And Mr. Manoyan will be joining me. Do you have the plan, Carly, that I had in the packet we could put up?
I can get it.
Yeah, okay.
So, nice job as far as what you can visually see while we're waiting for your presentation.
Yeah. Okay, there it is. There's 2 plans. So we've discussed this at previous meetings, but the traffic on the Main Street. Oops.
Sorry, this is a
Okay.
share.
Implementing calming measures for the traffic on the Main Street. So, working with my engineer for the Main Street and also our civil engineer 1, we developed this plan, and also, with Alan Manoyan in his office, to implement some, I guess we call it tactical urbanism traffic calming measures, which include dedicated bike lanes, where we could fit them, and also painted curb extensions. So you can see on the plan here, based on the existing width of the roadway between Columbia Street and Washington Street, we're able to fit in dedicated bike lanes. When we head further west, the road actually tightens up too much to be able to fit the 5-foot bike lanes. So we're unable to fit it. So the plan includes dedicated bike lanes and also the painted curb extensions, which will be a maroon color, and that kind of act. This will sort of act as a I wouldn't say a preview, but a pilot for what could be when we do the Main Street redesign, which is ongoing. It's in its early stages right now. So we'll get to see how that works, and Alan might be able to speak to what he saw today. We do also have a teardrop channelization island as you approach the area with a 25 mph painted in the pavement here. And these are just inexpensive ways to add traffic calming. And you might also have noticed further up Main Street by the bridge, we did the speed feedback sign that used to be on East Main Street is now located there.
Yes, I like that.
Yeah, it does seem, yeah.
Yeah, and I must say the little painted island out here, first time I saw it, kind of threw me, and I was like, oh, I feel it. I'm like, is it real? It's too early in the morning.
And then so further down, so that's from Columbia to Washington Street, and then so from Washington Street to Park, we didn't really do anything at this time, but down at the intersection of Park and Main near the fire station, we also put the stenciling for 25 mph in the road, and also kind of extend a fog line offset of the curb because it was really wide open there. We had about 21 feet from the center line to the curb with nothing there. So to sort of tighten that up a bit, we put in the fog line. Now we will be putting in a painted curb extension as well to sort of tighten up the turn from Main onto Park, as vehicles kind of can do what they want. I'm always dodging a couple of castings in the road myself, but it'll kind of direct you in a tighter way, so it'll help to calm traffic. So those are the measures we're looking at implementing. Do you want to add on to
The
anything else?
main
Yeah.
thing, what's affecting this is we've gone from 16-foot wide travel lanes
Correct.
to 11-foot wide travel lanes, which is what was introduced on East Main Street, Ray. And that's, we all know this, when you get into a narrow channel, you slow down because you realize you're going faster. So, and this is, again, there's nothing radical or genius or revolutionary about this. We've been doing it for 30 years in downtowns. And I'll just say, looking out my office window, which I do obsessively and have done for 6 years, and I bother all these guys with my observations from my window. To be brief, it works, and it is working.
I've
And I don't
noticed
need
the
a
difference, too,
scientist
even
or a
when
data engineer to tell me.
Yeah.
I've been looking at my windows and I went, oh my goodness, it is. It's altered the behavior of the heavy trucks already and the cars. So it works, and this is just, again, a very small sample of what we can do with this stuff.
Yeah.
No, it's amazing that, just basically when you get down to it, a little paint,
Yes.
and
Right. Yeah.
everything just kind of aligns better. So.
Yeah, and I would also add, we're awarded a shared streets and spaces grant, and that's what's been paying for a lot of the things we've been doing in the downtown area. You'll know the Groton Street crosswalk and rectangular rapid flashing beacon, that was part of that. So it's been a great grant from the state, and we've had money to do these things without having to impact the town's budgets.
Yeah.
So, and then one other thing I would add is for the redesign, the Main Street 25% design, which World Tech, our consultant, is developing now. We'd expect this fall for what's called the design justification workbook to be approved. And once Mass DOT approves that, then we can push to the 25% design state. And as part of that, we'll have a public meeting with, allow the public and get input for how the design should be for the road, and we'll be able to actually see how the bike lanes work up there.
Which is also what had happened on the East Main Street project, is that, the public were invited and the public did participate in the design, so.
Yeah.
This is it.
So
The
that's
whole
down the
point is you
pipeline.
design the roads,
Right.
so that people can't, violate the speed limits. Instead of burdening the police department, having to be out there chasing people else, you simply design the road.
Yes.
And then through time, you get conditioned to it, and you get used to it, and that becomes normal, and it feels strange to speed. And so this is where we're going with it. and it only makes the downtown safer. And when the downtown is safe for people, they spend more time there, and that's what really triggers the economic potential of the place, and we get more businesses and people. So this is the first step, rebuilding the economy of downtown Ayer.
Excellent.
Not in terms necessarily of the new paintings, but, and this may have come up before and I just forget. Have we ever looked into the flashing crossings for downtown, the pedestrian? I had a constituent, a resident
Yeah.
ask that today.
So, since we're doing the redesign, we haven't looked in the interim. We do have the one where the commuters cross.
Yeah, there
Crossing.
like
Yeah.
specifically like on Washington, just because especially now
Yeah.
at times, like in the evenings, weekend evenings, it's very busy in downtown Ayer. They were saying it was pretty difficult to cross. People weren't stopping, like trying to cross Washington.
Yeah, that's something we can consider. Because I do believe I have one of those. Yeah, so I'll take that into account and see if it's something.
And that
we
is
could
good,
add
especially
in.
in downtown. The lighting really needs to be improved and changed. The lighting is not good downtown.
True.
And that, right, makes it even more difficult for people at night with the crosswalks where they feel needed, because we really do need to improve the lighting on the sidewalks.
Lighting on Main Street over and over again?
Just the rusty ones, I think.
Just
Because
so
we
that-
as they rust out, we replace.
Yeah,
them.
right, we basically
And
been
it's
keeping
more
up with
generally a
maintenance
different design
beforehand.
approach, where the heads we have now
Right.
simply cast the light up. You need new fixtures that
But
actually
we
cast
own all
light down
these
on the
now,
street.
right? Are these the ones we own?
Yeah, we,
Okay.
yeah, we
So
own all the lights,
that,
yeah.
that would be probably part of the public design? Is
It will.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, the new design will, right,
Yeah.
lighting will be taken into account, yep.
Excellent. It's been a while
What
since we
what would
talked
be
about
the
lighting.
estimated time for the remodel?
The
of
new
downtown?
project, so it's a kind of hard answer, but it's a tip project, so similar to East Main Street, there's kind of a pushing it through the MPO.
Yeah.
But also, you know, we got to keep on our design and keep on master to keep that moving. And if we can do that, we can get the MPO. So I would say,
They have it scheduled out right now, 5 years.
Ye-
We need to accelerate
Yeah.
that. We need to get on those rooms and lobby hard and be more aggressive. We
I-
need to really accelerate that schedule for Ayer. And by the way, the trucking study we're going to be doing with MRPC starting this fall is all going to contribute, I think, to the urgency, frankly. This is not about aesthetics in this downtown. Often it is when you do these things. The aesthetics are important. This is really about the safety and functionality. So we really need,
Yeah.
what you say, you need to really to accelerate us on that list. We really need to make this happen in the next 3 years.
yeah,
You know.
from a design standpoint, I think next construction season, we could complete the design. So we pushed to 25%. This winter, we complete the 25%. And then, you know, MassDOT, they get several months to review, and we have back and forth. So I'd say next year, we could complete the design. So from that point, well, then there's a right-of-way portion, which is a different story. But that can kind of, at that point, we'll be in good shape to sort of push it and move us up the ladder at the MPO. I mean, we could obviously be doing it now, too. But, yeah, that'll
are.
really help. So I'd say
so
several
5 years
years.
or less is the general.
Yeah,
general
5 or
timeline.
less, yeah.
Per Sean's question about the light up crosswalks, would it be beneficial to invest in those in the short term? Like more than just the one for Washington, maybe look at what the total need is for that space and invest in that just for the short term? Because I'm assuming if we can put those in now or in the next year, when the remodel comes through, we can reuse those. for the
Right.
Final design.
Yeah, so we do have one that we need to put up, so I could look and see if that's a good location. It was the one that was down on East Main, one of the ones that was on East Main Street. So I could look into that. I know they are kind of expensive, I think upwards to
Yeah, maybe
10
not, I mean,
grand,
maybe because
but
we have a lot,
we
I know
could-
we have a lot of crosswalks in
Yeah.
downtown, but
Yeah.
maybe like get
Right.
another one.
I think that Washington Street is the prime.
Yeah, Washington Street.
That would be my recommendation. If
Right.
you're going to put it anywhere, that's the place.
Yeah, yeah, so we can evaluate the corridor and see if it kind of makes sense to put another one.
Because I think there was an activated one when they did the.
Yeah, there is one at the commuter
They
rail.
did the Depot Square.
Across from
Yeah,
the-
yeah.
a rail trail
Yes,
in
yes.
West Street, yeah,
Yes, yes.
right.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Thank you.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, All right, appreciate it.
Good. Your work is always appreciated.
Thank you,
gentlemen.
I appreciate it, Madam Chair.
All right, opening of the fall special town meeting warrant.
Madam
Just
Chair.
a normal open
Yeah,
it?
yeah, we're just gonna, through you, respectfully ask the chair officially take a vote to open the warrant. The dates which will publicize the warrant will close on September 30th at 1 p.m. That'll be the deadline for warrant articles and citizens petitions. October 4th, the select board will review and approve the warrant. That's your first meeting in October. The warrant will then go to print and mailing on October 7th. October 14th, which is a Friday, will be the last day to register to vote for the fall town meeting. And then October 24th will be the special town meeting. And at this time, we're aware of 4 potential items as of right now. There may be more. One is the street acceptance, which the board is aware of. There may be 2 on the zoning bylaw amendments, one involving the form-based code and one involving parking. More to come on that. I know that Alan was meeting with the planning board. And there may be a CPC application for the historic renovation of the camp. But there could be other items. That's what we know of now. So we're just respectfully looking for a vote from the board to open the warrant.
I make a motion that the Ayer Select Board open the fall special town meeting warrant for October 24th, 2022.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair says aye. And we're open. Great.
Madam Chair, members of the board, good evening. You have in the packet the town warrants that were reviewed and approved since the board last met on July 13th. In the purpose of the administrative update, I'd just like to highlight a couple of things for the board. First, in the area of personnel, we remain very busy. Linda McQuaid has hit the ground running as the assessing administrator. Thank you for the board's support tonight for the ratification of Ms. Lewis's appointment for benefits and payroll, and we'll be transitioning with Mr. Johnson on that. The assistant town manager and the respective town department heads are getting the social worker position on deck to be advertised and so forth. The IT director informed me that she'll be retiring in October, so we'll be starting that process shortly. The zoning enforcement hours, if you recall, this board supported in town meeting supported increased zoning enforcement hours for the building department. We're working to get that in place. That has been a challenge as far as finding qualified individual to do that, but we're committed to get that hopefully wrapped up in the next couple of weeks. Also, as some of you aware, we're in the process, the BUY board is in the process of doing the periodic review and update of the financial policies. I will send those to the board as well. The BUY board has a September 2nd internal deadline for the review and update. We're also going to send that out to all of the department heads to update. We're due, 2019 was the last review and update. Obviously, those policies will come to the select board and the finance committee for final approval once they're in place. We'll also provide the board at your September meeting. The BUY board will be meeting next week. Will be the proposed budget calendar for the year ahead for discussion. We'd like to come before the board for your September 20th meeting. The fire chief and the deputy fire chief, myself, and the finance manager to start the discussion on the mutual aid and the fire call analysis. The board will recall there was a lot of discussion and questions about that, and from town meeting we'll be prepared to begin that discussion and look at some of the initial data on September 20th. The Cable Advisory Committee will be having its first meeting. We're in the process of setting that up. The town's cable license expires on March 31st of 2023. After the committee meets, we will probably have an update for the board on that process. Town council will be working with us on that as well. I also want to just bring up to the board's awareness the library heating system. The facilities director, Chuck, has done a fabulous job in trying to, this is the original heating system, the HVAC system. The heating system has completely failed. Fortunately, the air conditioning component is worked this summer. Why I'm bringing this to the board's attention, the library board of trustees, the assistant town manager, and the facilities director went last Thursday to the library board of trustees meeting, and the library board voted to authorize up to $35,000 from one of their CD funds for this repair. The repair is going to be about $30,000, the extra $5,000 for a contingency. The library board of trustees will be looking, which is a reasonable request, looking in the future for a future town meeting to consider replenishing that CD. First, the project didn't go through the capital because there wasn't an issue at that time. It failed just a couple months ago. The second concern was where there's $300,000 in the reserve fund, this represented over 10% of the reserve fund going only the first year into the fiscal year. So the other variable is that the heating system, it's time sensitive because they have to build some of the components, has to be completed by the first week in October, or the library isn't going to have any heat. So wanted the board to be aware of that project and that funding as we move forward. Also, you may notice in the next few days some work on the exterior of the town hall. This is phase 1 of the town hall improvements that went through capital and was approved by this board in town meeting in the spring. It's about a $30,000 project that really looks at restoring the copper gutters and the drainage system on the town hall and addresses a couple of areas of the roof. This is phase 1, as there'll be a phase 2, which the capital planning committee is aware of coming in the fall. So if you notice there's some scaffolding or so forth, that's the work that's underway through the facilities department. And then lastly, we have heard from Mart, fingers crossed, that the final piece of the depot square, you've probably seen the bathroom building and so forth, is the last piece, is the electrical, and that should be done.
So we don't have a time frame quite yet, but it's the original pole they were planning on using. There was an issue, of course. So they're going to be using the Keolis building electrical. So they just have to work with the MBTA Keolis, but they're close. They're very close. Everything's agreed to. It's just kind of permitting at this point. They called today. They were down on site working with it. So once it's all wired, then the lights can go up. We checked with the shelter company. That should be arriving mid-September. So we're really hoping to do a full ribbon cutting in October. Fingers crossed.
So there is a crowd waiting
Yeah,
for this
sure,
ribbon
yeah.
cutting, and they're
I'm first in
some that
line.
gonna do the ribbon cutting themselves if they have to.
Yep, so once the lights go up, and this has been in consultation with both Mart, the police chief, and DPW, once the lights are up, we can take that fence down. Because we don't,
And it's all related to the bathroom, the electrical on the bathroom.
yeah, it all around, it's gonna power the bathroom.
Bathroom has been a problem
Yeah.
since day one.
That's where all the electrical runs through, so.
So when they were worried about the pipe for the water, they forgot to worry about the extension cord for the electricity.
Not quite that simple.
I know, but I was simplifying it because it's just the bathroom's been a headache for years, so.
Thank you, Carly. And then just lastly, it's hard to believe we're halfway through August, but as the board knows, we'll be beginning the whole, what I call sort of the formulation phase of the budget, starting in September. Obviously, the reconvening of the rate review committee, capital planning, and all of those important functions. So that is sort of my administrative update for this evening. If there are any questions from the board, if not, I'll get right into just a couple of quick action items. The first, and you have in your packet, we're looking for the board to take a vote to accept a donation from Compassus Home Health and Hospice in the amount of $100 to the Ayer Council on Aging Senior Center. The COA was honored to assist one of their clients, a longtime Ayer resident, with his final wish to go fishing. This donation, upon approval by the board, will be placed in the COA donation account.
That's so sweet.
It was a nice thing.
I'll make a motion that the Ayer Select Board vote to accept a donation of $100 from Compassus Home Health and Hospice to the Ayer Council on Aging / Senior Center to be placed in the Council on Aging donation account.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair says aye.
The next item, item 3, is the September meeting schedule. As the board is aware, go back to the normal schedule of first and third Tuesdays of September would be September 6th and September 20th. There's no issue with the September 20th, but as the town clerk mentioned earlier, September 6th is the state primary, which per recommendation of the Secretary of State's office, they like not to have open and public meetings occurring in a polling place during the election, which, as the board knows, Town Hall is one of them. So we would need to the board would need to look to select a different date to address September 6th.
Can we do it on the next night?
Is the 7th, available?
So the 7th, the CPC is meeting at 7, but they have a public hearing scheduled in anticipation of town meeting. I think they've already sent out the public notification for that.
Okay.
We could meet that evening earlier. They meet typically at 7. We could do like a 5:30 to 6:45. But let me see if that's the date. And then the 8th is totally booked. There's 2
8th
meetings.
is no good for me.
Okay. And the 12th, which is a Monday, the Board of Health will be meeting at 5:30, so we can meet. They're typically done by 6:30, so we could meet at like 6:45.
I can make the 5:30 time work on the 7th if that's.
I can. Well,
Yeah,
let me
she'll be
check.
able to.
At one time,
Let me
Yeah,
just-
We have
I can
quorum at
reschedule
5:30.
the one thing.
As long as we have quorum at 5:30,
Yeah.
that works.
Yeah. Yep.
What
That'll
is
work.
that, September?
I can reschedule the one thing I have.
September 7th at 5:30.
Mhm.
Okay.
We'll just do one thing. Okay, I'm just gonna
Okay.
double check with Janet that they're starting at 7, but you can.
Okay. So we're looking to September 7th for 5:30 for the September 1st meeting, and then, of course, September 20th at 6.
Correct.
The final item, because we want to keep this moving as we talked last meeting in July, is just a brief update, and it's brief on the town hall howitzer efforts since we last met. Alan Manoyan, the Director of Community and Economic Development, is actively working to get the estimates and quotes for the historic restoration of the cannon, and that would be one of the key pieces for the CPC application. So a lot of back and forth on that, but we're confident we'll get that information and what's involved on that. The facilities department, we have some initial analysis and estimates on the base design for the area where the base is, and obviously we'll want some input on this, some options there, but that's coming together. The facilities department has got the estimate on the use of a crane to move various components. We did find out that the granite marker in the back does go about 5 feet down into the ground. Chuck did dig a test pit to check it, so it's a big piece, and we're looking at some options there. And then I will be working with the Director of Economic Development, the Assistant Town Manager and Facilities, and putting the CPC application together. So we should have a definitive update hopefully by September 7th with some numbers and so forth to get this going.
Sounds good.
And unless there are any other questions from members of the board, that concludes my report for this evening. Thank you.
So, any new business select board member questions?
No.
I have nothing.
All right. I thought I had something, but I think I ended up getting answered inadvertently, so, okay. So the next up is the meeting minutes from July 13th.
I had no changes or edits.
I didn't see
I had no
anything.
issues with that either. I'll make the motion to approve the meeting minutes for July 13th, 2022 as presented.
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And the chair says aye. Okay. So, you want to?
If I do it right, I'll make a motion that the Air Select Board move into executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, exemption number 2, non-union personnel, to discuss the benefits of payroll manager personal service contract. The board will not reconvene in open session and will adjourn from executive session. Is that right?
Second.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Scott?
Roll call vote.
Scott?
Sorry, he answered.
I know, I wasn't even looking at him.
All right.
Sean?
Aye.
And the chair says aye. We are in executive session. Thank you very